With Christmas approaching, what do you get the person who has it all? A Rolex? An Andy Warhol original? Lamborghini? A Tiger? Or heck, perhaps your very own jetpack? All mind-boggling, right? But for the ultimate exclusive and cultural cool, how about a shipwreck museum? And that's exactly what the Shipwreck Treasure Museum in Charlestown, Cornwall in England is offering. The Shipwreck Treasure Museum has been a much cherished attraction in southwest England for 50 years, ever since Richard Larne started the exhibit with his wife Bridget in 1976. Richard got the diving bug in 1947, aged 17, when he bought 2 sets of German submarine escape kits from Exchange and Mark magazine for 50 pence apiece. Richard tested them in the River Thames and landed right on top of a sunken steamer. The shipwreck hunting business was easy, and Larne has been hooked ever since, diving dozens of sunken ships, including Henry VIII's Mary Rose and HMS Association. Richard's especially renowned for working the English East India Company trader, the Admiral Gardner, that sank in 1809 on its way from England to Madras and Bengal in India. The ship was carrying 4 tons of coins, and Richard and his team recovered 4 million of them from the infamous ship swallower, the Goodwin Sands. But they didn't make him rich. The coins minted in 1808 were made of copper and had more historical than financial appeal. The Charlestown Shipwreck Treasure Museum collection ranges from finds made in the 1960s to mostly the 1970s to 1980s. About 2/3 of them were found by Richard, with the other material recovered by Peter McBride and Roland Morris. The jump from finding to displaying sunken finds was important to Richard. Back in the 1970s, there was no enthusiasm in museums to display bits from ships, he told the BBC, which caused me to hoard my own finds in the hope that an outlet would present itself one day. I settled for a derelict china clay store in 1975. Now at the time, Peter Crowder, the managing director of Charlestown Estate Limited, asked Richard the jackpot question: how many visitors should I expect? Richard guessed at 10,000. But to everyone's astonishment, the total number that year ended up at 100,000 visitors. Now, the magic is ending, as the museum runs the serious risk of having to close its doors forever. Before then, the museum is on offer, lock, stock and barrel, for a billionaire's bargain basement price of £1.95 million. For your money, you'll get the historical building and its smuggler-like tunnels used for processing and sending porcelain and clay down to the docks where Poldark was later filmed. Sexy stuff. Not to mention the 3 Musketeers filmed in Charlestown Harbour with Kiefer Sutherland, an episode of Doctor Who, Mel Gibson's Apocalypto, and Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter. Star appeal or what? Then there's the finds themselves, many from the world's most famous shipwrecks, the Mary Rose, coal from the Titanic, Lusitania and the Royal Charter. The museum's current owners and custodians, Smith Associates Limited and the Merchants of Charlestown, have been battling to find a willing buyer who will keep the museum and its collections together as a going concern. So far, no luck. The clock isn't so much ticking as about to blow. On the 6th of November, the whole collection will go up for sale at Leys Auctioneers in Penzance. Both BBC South West and the Museums Association have reported fears about the attraction and its finds' future. Well, no surprise there, but the whole state of play begs a very serious question. What price Britain's sunken past? Leys has found itself stuck between a rock and a hard place, between the ideal of seeing the Shipwreck Museum saved and doing its job. The waters of the British Isles are filled with these unobtainable treasures, and in order to protect them, says Leys Auctioneers, British maritime law ensures that intrepid wreck divers who try to recover them are subject to some of the strictest governance in the world. It is an expensive, lengthy and bureaucratic process. And this reason alone, they say, makes the collection of the Charlestown Shipwreck Museum so very special. Because since 1973, obtaining and owning shipwreck artefacts is fraught with great difficulty and expense. The collection at Charlestown was created at a time when it was still possible. And they're right. Almost every item in the Charlestown Shipwreck Museum, in the end, comes from a wreck site that deserves to have its story told. And we are relishing the opportunity to tell those stories to everyone who will listen. Soon, many people will seemingly have that opportunity to cherish a slice of those stories. But back to the question then, how much do we really value Britain's sunken past? The answer seems to be, well, not very much. Sure, it'd be great if a benefactor on horseback rode to the rescue, but in the real world, where the museum's value is far more educational and cultural than monetary, that means government interest. So where are the Knights of the Deep in the Department of Culture, Media and Sport and Historic England? Why can the UK stump up £4.3 million for a hoard of 2,600 coins buried away 1,000 years ago in the Norman Conquest? But culture that tells the sweeping story of the history of the British Isles from the bottom of the sea is brushed aside. Maybe there lies the rub. The establishment doesn't approve of privately owned archaeology, so it's unlikely to step in to save the day, and perhaps isn't distraught to look the other way. For one of world history's great maritime nation, it's odd that such a major collection, 8,000 artefacts from 165 shipwrecks, or the best bits from them, can't be saved for the nation. But go to any national museum in the UK and you'll barely see one shipwreck find. For a country whose very wealth and identity came from the sea, isn't this erasing of unique history a little fishy? Great ocean-going Brits from Alfred the Great to Nelson will be turning in their graves. Come on, Great Britain, you can't say you weren't warned. As Recwatch TV is about to go live, news just in. 500 lots from the planned auction have been pulled. Pretty much everything from the shipwrecks that would later become legally designated as protected wrecks in the United Kingdom. Latest auctioneers confirm the finds have been acquired by an institutional buyer. The good news is that the Shipwreck Treasure Museum's best bits will now be kept together. But for whose benefit? Will the public still get to enjoy the sunken wonders? And who's the knight in a white wetsuit who may have saved the day? The rumour mill is churning. And the sadder news is that the museum itself will now inevitably be sold off and close its magical doors forever. Recwatch will bring you an update on the new owner in the next few days. Watch this space. To keep updated about the plight of Charlestown Shipwreck Treasure Museum and the latest news and stories from the sunken world, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Recwatch TV. Show the establishment that there's millions of people out there who care passionately about our sunken past deep down.